shorter, more concise than the original quotation. Yeah.
Why did they have to cite act of humility? I mean, it's just.
Okay, I'm gonna get to that. Number one, okay, so we said that we use these citations for, we're using, the author here used the exact words act of humility in this case because Holman has more weight than he does. And the author decided for him or herself that by using the exact words Holman has to use, that it would carry more weight, and that there is no way that he could actually not use the word humility. In the next example, we'll show you someone who tried to change that, and somehow or another fell short in the word that was used. Okay, so if you can't come up with another word for humility that doesn't work as well, then you might want to just go ahead and use that quotation. Okay? Or if you feel that you're going to benefit by actually using Holman's words rather than paraphrasing that particular part, then you want to do that. Or maybe you might disagree that it's not an act of humility, and you want to say these are his words, not mine. So that could be all the reasoning for using these direct quotations. The last one was probably not the case. Okay, so it's probably just fine. Okay, identifies where words are exactly copied from the original with the quotation marks, and cites the original source of the information. So these are all the qualities you want to have in a good paraphrase. Turn over to the next page, example of an unacceptable paraphrase. I'll finish up here. Intellectual honesty is the admission that humanity is linked together in a kind of joint learning process. Not very much is discovered new without really understanding other scholars' previous research and knowledge. Citing shows you are grateful and appreciate what other researchers have figured out about a particular issue. This might seem like it's okay. There's nothing wrong with this. You might say, this is fine. What's wrong with this? Well, it only makes trivial changes. It changes collective learning process into joint learning process. So whoever did this highlighted collective, looked at the synonyms and stuck in joint. Could work. De novo means new, so they put new in there. And researchers become scholars of previous research, pretty much remain the same except for exploration. You can see what's happening here. They're using synonyms and just changing words. Structures stay pretty much the same. What other scholars have pieced together becomes what other researchers have figured out. So it really doesn't work very well. And it also doesn't indicate where words are copied directly from the source. There are some words in here that are exactly as they are in the original source. It doesn't cite the source of either the paraphrased or directly copied information. And there's also a problem which goes to your question here, is that the meaning is not accurately conveyed from the original source. Citing shows you are grateful is not the same as citing is an act of humility. Being grateful and having humility are two different things. So you may look at humility, look it up, and it says grateful. But that doesn't mean that you can actually just plug that synonym in there and without losing meaning. That's the danger of synonyms. They are not exactly the same meaning as the word they replace. They are similar, but they're not exact in all cases. Okay, so you have to be very careful. And if you're not really familiar with the English vocabulary and you have some limitations there, you're going to run into some problems. Okay. Any questions about this now? Okay, let's see there. So we did that.
Oh, actually, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
And it may sound stupid, But like plagiarism, it's a black and white issue, or is it a gray area? Meaning, if he had quoted on the paragraph that failed, if he had actually cited, added citations, be given reference to, would that have made it? It would still have been
That
egregious.
would have
or
been
is
better,
it-
but he would have to put those words that were exact. Now, there's rules for this that vary from discipline to discipline. Some disciplines say that 4 words strung together, exactly the same as the text, have to be quoted. If you don't quote them, that's plagiarism. Some of them say 5 words, 6 words, that sort of thing. You have to find out in your discipline exactly where the limitations are. Okay, so if for some of these things, you're not going to be able to change them, especially if you have little prepositional phrases and things like that in there. Sometimes they're going to work their way in. But for major chunks of information, 2, 3, 4 words sometimes are going to get you in trouble. So always check with your department, you check with your mentors, your instructors, your teachers, as to exactly what you can do and can't do as far as that's concerned. Okay, plagiarism is usually unintentional. We don't mean to plagiarize, but oops, suddenly I found myself plagiarizing and I wasn't really aware of it. Here's some ways that you can avoid unintentional plagiarism. When copying any info, so you're doing your research and you can find something that's really good and you want to put it in your paper. When you're copying info directly, put quotes around it so you don't forget that it's a quotation. Okay. Just don't write the words down without indicating somehow or another, not only that it's a quotation, but also write down the authors or the resource or the source in brackets, or in some way. It doesn't have to be in brackets, but in some way you want to put that down there. If it's online, what I usually do is I copy down, I just paste the URL next to it, so I can go back to it whenever I want to. Or you can look in your history sometimes, you say, man, I wrote this down, but I forgot who said this and where I found it. Again, if it's too far back in history, you're not going to be able